You guys know what time it is. Get strapped in and ready for some good times. This is the Blowed Out Podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Episode 81. Coming at you, Lord, officially in the last half of April. Good Lord, it's flying by, isn't it? Seems like it does that more and more lately, doesn't it? I was just sitting here pondering a decision that I'm struggling with internally, whether or not to pull the trigger. And it's a substantial amount of money. I mean, for, a poor bastard such as myself. But I was interested how much it's weighing on me. And I think that I'm sure that is all of us. But I think that has a lot to do with where we are currently in life, right? And by that I mean everything going on, all the upheaval, the geopolitical nightmare that we're currently involved in. And I thought, you know what? I said to myself, self, you're 50. And by damn it, if you want to do something and you can pull it out of your ass, then you should be able to do that something, right? But there's that little part of me that says, is that fiscally irresponsible of me? Does that somehow make me bad or a bad person if I pull that trigger because it's something that I really want? And it's a good deal. It's a great deal. It's not that it's fiscally irresponsible in the grand scheme of things, and it's not a ton of money in the grand scheme of things. But then I, like I said, I thought, okay, well, is it gonna matter if we just implode as a planet, at some point in the next however many months anyhow? Should I just do it because why not? And also, if we don't implode or just blow ourselves off of the rock, the purchase will or could come in handy in an apocalyptic scenario. So I'm kind of leaning towards just doing it. And again, I suppose that a lot of you guys may not share my views on a lot of things. We know that. But that's the beauty of the show and being us, is we have the ability to disagree and still be friends about it. What I may do may not be the same as you, but we can sit here and talk about it, right? But like I said, technically, if all this shit just continues to hit the fan, which I certainly don't go to sleep every night thinking that it will, but is it going to matter in the grand scheme of things if it does? And by that I say no. If that's the case, then hell, there's a solid chance I may not even have to pay it back. But I'm also in a position where if things get really bad, I would have options at that point to either sell a bunch of stuff to anyone who managed to still be more fortunate than the next feller if the shit hits the fan, or just chug it out. Luckily, what I do for work kind of thrives on where we're at in the geopolitical scene. So barring any serious complications or something just completely going haywire with the military-industrial complex, or just the government in general. As long as I'm not a dumbass and I just show up to work, I should be fairly safe. As long as things, like I said, don't go completely off the rails. I know, just like everything else, I am absolutely, completely overthinking this. But I wanted to share with you that is where my brain has been, I don't know, for at least the last 7 or 8 hours. Yeah. Anyhow, how's everybody doing? Hope everyone's doing well. I suppose sitting here talking about making a financial decision when gas, at least here in northern Utah, is still over $4 a gallon. And as of, this afternoon, we're still hinging upon peace talks in the Middle East that don't appear to be happening. So the price of gas doesn't have a real strong outlook of going down anytime very soon, at least. Ideally, by the end of summer. So, we cinch up our belts a little bit. Again, I don't know how it is in some of the other parts of the globe that some of you folks might be listening from, but I assume it's probably pretty close to the same everywhere. It's either way up or way down, or, if you're lucky, you live somewhere where it's either always up or always down, and it hasn't, even though it's changed, it hasn't been drastic. I mean, God knows, again, here in Utah, we have it better than California or Washington or some of those places. In fact, just past weekend, some of the boys and I were up working on the hill climb stuff because, it's that time of year, and you'll be happy to know that this is probably the last time you will hear about it, other than a recap, at least building up to the X12 motorcycle hill climb in northern Utah, May 1st and 2nd. Anyhow, we were up there, but a bunch of our other buddies were out riding recreationally for a dear friend of ours, bachelor party. And just to tie that all in is, yes, gas is gnarly, but it's not necessarily stopping anyone dead in their tracks. I mean, everything is just disgustingly expensive, I agree, but just like all the rest of the times in our lives, or at least mine, I'm sure I can fairly well speak for all of us when I say that regardless of how bad it gets, we figure out how to make it work because we don't have a lot of choice, right? Yes, we can tighten up. We can get rid of Hulu. I mean, we can trim the fat. We can get rid of streaming services, or we can, maybe not take our regular once a month trip to the next state over to gamble and sit in the hot tub in the Bang Shack room for the weekend. There's just dumb little things that we've all become accustomed to that there's always fat to be trimmed, at least for the most part. Granted, it eventually can get to a point, obviously, where there is no fat left to trim. And when it's I think I just spent $125 last week on groceries and, pit stick and some toilet paper, for a few things to eat and some necessities, some hygiene necessities, just for the one teenager and I, and that was basically for a week. now granted, a lot of those things carry over, but, I would dare say the average 4-person household is probably spending easily $1,000 a month just on groceries and hygienic necessities, but again, we don't need the Monster, we don't need the beer, the dumb stuff like that. So I feel like you got to be in a really bad place, and don't get me wrong, no judgment. Any of us are pretty close at any given point to being, we're one busted car or one blown up water heater or things like that away from being in a really bad financial position. But I think for the most part, unless you're already at that point, there are things that can be done for a solid workaround. And eventually, thank God, eventually everyone, I feel like, can get back on their feet. At least ideally and hopefully. I hope that anyone listening that may be in a real bad spot, I wish you all the best, and I'll send hope your way that things look up real soon. Because, nobody wants that, obviously, of course. The sad part is what we talked about, I don't know, at this point, Lord, 6, 7, pushing 8 weeks ago, I guess now. What should have been a swift, efficient campaign to get Iran, I don't want to talk about it anymore, but it's not going anywhere nearly as quickly as we had hoped 2 months ago now. And at this point, the administration seems to just be caving, which I get. I get that all of the outside influences, obviously diplomacy is the best choice. No one wants to see any country get decimated or innocent lives lost or anything like that. So the chess game is ideal. Unfortunately, it just drags it out longer and longer, and apparently longer, because here we are at an impasse once again I don't know how many weeks now, I've lost count. But so we're now on another 10 or 14 day impasse, hoping that they'll cave, when I just don't think they care. And I could be wrong. I've never been to that neck of the woods. For you guys that are over there listening, and not necessarily in that neck of the woods, but at least in that closer geographic area than I am, perhaps you guys are seeing things different, and I'm certain that that is the case. We've discussed this a million times. For all I know, I'm seeing nothing but fake news come through all my internet feeds, social media, everything else. Hell, for all I know, the real story hasn't even begun to be told. But I think, like I said, genuinely, everyone wants diplomacy. No one wants to see us just go over there and carpet bomb the entire country. And I don't think we will see that happen, honestly. I think that they are busy enough watching the numbers and trying to not only play chess with the Middle East, but also with the poll numbers. So I don't think you'll see that happen. Honestly, if I was to bet on it on one of those, BS sites that you see on TV, I would say we will probably see, between 2 and 5 more extensions or ceasefires or this and that and the other. Oh, we're going to talk on Tuesday, but then we didn't. So, but everybody got big angry when I said I'm going to push the damn, I'm going to push the green button for the B2s to go unleash hell. So I'm going to give them another extension. I think this will just continue to get dragged out in that fashion rather than actually giving the green light to carpet bomb the whole place. I could be wrong. I certainly hope I'm wrong, but like I said, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we don't see between 2 and 5 more extensions from this point on, which, of course, sadly, just drags all this shit out longer, keeps all the prices inflated, just everybody on eggshells. It's really just not great for mental health, for economy, for all of those things. And, sadly, this guy's not the first to do it, and he won't be the last. It just is what it is. When you've got so many of us on the same rock with different views, there's just no good way around it, at least in my opinion. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope one of these days, without being too graphic, because I don't like to just sound like a cuss record, but I really hope that one of these days we can all just have a Coke and a smile and everybody will shut the fuck up. In the great words of some comedian that we shouldn't talk about anymore. Anyhow, in other news, Big Boy 4014 is like the oldest and largest functioning steam train. It's actually a really cool train if you're kind of a machinery geek like myself. Was just here again over the weekend and is making its way currently back towards Cheyenne. So anyone up in that neck of the woods, if you want to see him roll through, I believe he's currently just over there on the border somewhere, like central Utah. I guess, what would that be? Central eastern Utah, headed for Cheyenne. I was unaware. I thought they were just kind of rolling through doing a thing. It's super cool, guys. If you don't know what it is, maybe have a look. But I didn't know they were doing a coast-to-coast thing for our 250th birthday. It says they're going to do some scheduled maintenance in Cheyenne, and then they're going to begin the end of May an Eastern Leg tour with a stop in Philadelphia on Independence Day. Pretty damn cool, actually. This thing is it's an amazing piece of machinery, and it's really a great part of our history. Super cool. Like I said, if you're kind of a geek for that sort of stuff, you can track it. I'm certain there's a website that Union Pacific has that you can track where it is or where it's headed next. So you can run up the canyon and get a picture of it as it blows by or whatever you want to do. But it's just something super cool to mention. If you're looking for something to do here in the next couple weeks, cheap and easy with the kids. Speaking of, tightening the belt. I've always kind of been a weirdo for that stuff. Trains and tractors and machinery, all that stuff's fascinating, especially when it's that old. This is not the garbage we've been buying off of Amazon for all these years, I can tell you that. This is when stuff was actually built ridiculously like a tank, so to speak, because it had to be, and it's super cool that it's just chugging along. Anyhow, figured I'd throw that in there. Also, for those of you who look forward to my gold and silver predictions, even though I was right, timeline was just a hair off. But today, gold is back up to $47.83 an ounce. Silver is back up to $79.28, which is wild. That's a great price for silver. I mean, gold is still a fantastic price. It's not over $5, but it'll get back up there, I promise. platinum is $20.93 an ounce, and palladium is $16.04. For those of you who are into precious metals, because, God forbid someday it all collapses and those green things that some of us still carry in our wallets are completely useless. Let's see. Oh, Kash Patel and Christ, you name it. Swalwell, is that the dude's name? They're all just dropping off. They're all turds. Sadly. Well, Kash Patel, at least he's not a rapist or whatever the hell the other one is. Good Lord. What? I just don't get it. What is so hard about just being a decent damn human? Really? I don't understand it. It's the same with the kitty ticklers and everything else. What is so hard about just keeping your damn hands to yourself and being a half-decent human? I don't know that anyone can actually answer that, can they? I mean, I would like to think I could. I would like to think I'm a half-decent human. But why is it that every day there's 3 or 4 of them? Whether it be something in government and they're just resigning and dropping off like flies because they know they're about to get caught, or the kitty touchers, that there's 3 or 4 a day getting busted or clicked up. Good Lord. Like, is that really where we're at as a society? I don't get it. When, I guess, I shouldn't say this because technically I could just trace back my own answer to my own question, but when did we, theoretically go straight to hell in a handbasket as a society? Is that another one of those questions that will just remain unanswered? God, I hope not. I certainly hope we can get back to some sort of decent normalcy. But is that really a thing? Or, like the rest of it, is it just the new normal? Or is it only because we hear about it now because of the interwebs? Has it always been this bad? I don't know. I would like to think not, but Christ, at this point, it's anybody's guess. Anyhow, I'm gonna take a break, and we will be back. Hey folks, Ryan here, aka the Fatty with a Natty. Are you a business owner or marketing director looking to explore advertising on the Blowed Out podcast? As we prepare to enter our 4th season, we've gained a listening audience in over 125 cities spread across 21 countries worldwide. That includes a very large listening base right here in northern Utah. To find out how we can help your business grow or to discuss pricing and frequency options, email us at blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com and be sure to include marketing in the subject line. Again, that's blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com, subject marketing. And just like that, we're back at it. What's interesting is during the break, I was thinking to myself, all the things that I could say, which is interesting because I've been thinking about that all night. And it always kills me that somehow the episodes that I am always worried about having or finding or deciding what to talk about end up being the ones that flow somewhat organically. Anyhow, I was going to say I could give you guys an update on my weight loss journey, but there's nothing to update. I'm still fat, and it apparently still is not going anywhere. I have been too busy with all the other things, fabrication and custom stickers and signs and banners and oh Lord, you name it. If I could only figure out a way to somehow monetize going to the gym, maybe that would get my chunky ass in there more than, oh shit, I got to get back to either the shop or the studio or the office to get some work done. I don't know. Maybe I'll reach out to the folks at the gym and see if they can help me out with that. Anyhow, I also wanted to mention that if I make this decision in the next day or two, the one that I spoke of earlier in the episode, I will probably be needing to get rid of some stuff just to make room. So there may be some super cool stuff coming available in northern Utah, one of which might be a first edition prototype custom offset smoker that Evolution Design Works came up with many years ago. It's super cool. I don't know, a lot of you guys may or may not know that once upon a time we set out to create a perfect offset smoker for home use. So nothing crazy, nothing huge. We did start a couple of really big boys, but the price of steel, well, you know, you guys already know how that ended up. But believe it or not, we perfected, or at least what I think is perfected, a shape that is unlike any others, and a design that just creates amazing barbecue. And of course, every pit is different, but you know, who doesn't love standing around a smoker, maybe drinking an adult beverage or 7, and making something amazing with love. Sadly, everyone wanted to go to the pellet smokers and those types of things, which are fantastic. I'm not knocking those. I used to, but it's dumb. They're really convenient, and not everybody has the time to spend all day babysitting barbecue. But again, when you want it to actually come out with your heart and soul, well, an offset's the only way to go. Anyhow, I got sidetracked there. Also, never a bad idea to smoke your own if you got a hankering for barbecue. In this economy, that stuff, as you know, is super expensive. But it's a fraction of the price if you do it yourself. Anyhow, at this point, I'm rambling, which, you know, what's new there, right? You know, much like last episode, I mentioned that the fatigue of politics and all the god-awful stuff that's going on in the world has just gotten to be monotonous, right? I think we could all agree on that. I mean, it's everything and it's every day. China is apparently destroying Starlink satellites with lasers. Cruise ships are stranded in the Strait of Hormuz. Ukraine is training to shoot down Russian drones. I mean, it's just out of control. And I don't know, again, like maybe if it's just because I have broken my algorithm by looking at this garbage, but wouldn't it be nice to just go camping? That's kind of where I'm at. Also, why I'm super excited about next week is I just get to get the hell out of Dodge and go play in the hills for several days with minimal, if any, cell service. As long as I can get the remaining teenager to check on the old studio dog here, boy, the only thing I'll be worried about is putting another piece of firewood on the fire. Oh, boy, that was ratchety. Almost came out horribly wrong. And getting in the cooler for another cold beverage. Anyhow, like I said, that is what everyone should be focusing on. I just went down this rabbit hole a little while earlier with a couple of folks who are close to me that started arguing dumb shit on Facebook. You guys know I'm a huge fan of arguing on Facebook. It's a favorite pastime of mine. However, arguing about politics now is just dumb with a B. Both sides are just ridiculous. It's like peeing in the wind, guys. It doesn't get us anywhere. Neither side, yeah, I said that just for my sister, neither side is correct. And the sooner everyone realizes that, the better off we'll be. For those of you listening in other countries, I assume that there are at least similar things going on in your neck of the woods. It just gets to be ridiculous. You know, I've said it before. Just grab a drink and touch some grass. And yes, I understand that if we just ignore it, it isn't going to go away. But wouldn't it be nice to just ignore it for a while? Or at least just let it do whatever it's going to do with or without our input. And just focus on life. Focus on being with your loved ones, gardening, riding ATVs, camping, shooting bows and arrows or guns or, whatever, quilting. I don't know, whatever it is that you enjoy that just puts you in your happy place and takes your mind off all the horse shit going on in the world. That's what everybody should be focusing on rather than, oh God, what is tomorrow going to bring? It's just overwhelming. And again, it's not good for anyone's mental health. I honestly believe that, well, I know I don't even have to believe, but there is a huge uptick in really awful mental health issues because of all of this stuff. I mean, there's a ton of factors involved, but this is a big one, or the happenings in the globe are a big one. Folks are genuinely worried, and I don't blame them, but again, it's going to happen with or without our input, so there's no sense losing any sleep over it, guys. I hope you're not. Granted, if you're listening from somewhere where there's, air raid sirens going off, I'm sorry. I wish I could change that. I really do. If there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. I don't think there is, but if there is, let me know. I'm more than happy to help because no one should have to deal with that mess. But much like everything else, and much like I've said before, it's going to happen whether we like it or not. So better to just focus on ourselves. If there's something that presents itself that we could do to help, sure, I'm all for jumping on board with that. But unless there's something, don't just, make yourself sick trying to figure it out, especially single-handedly. It's just not going to happen. Anyhow, I feel like I've probably rattled on enough. Don't you think? I will say that next week may or may not happen, guys. I'll be honest. At this time next week, I will be frantically trying to remember what I didn't pack or not, and trying to focus on all the things I need to remember to take with me to the hill. So, I cannot promise that you guys will hear from me next week, but maybe. Maybe I'll try and squeeze it in. Hell, maybe I'll even try and have an on-site update with the Starlink or something. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But just so you know, I'm not making any promises. Again, that is X12 Motorcycle Hill Climbs in northern Utah next week, May 1st and 2nd. X12events.com if you would like more info, or you can hit us up here at the show. As always, got to give a shout out to our partners, Fine Finishes and Evolution Design Works. You can find them on social media or a quick Google search. Or you can, again, hit us up here at the show, blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com if you need more info on any of those things. Again, I hope everyone is doing well. Moving into the end of April. Enjoy a little bit of weather. If you're the praying kind and you feel compelled, maybe pray for us to have some good weather next weekend up at the hill. If not, you can, I guess technically you can pray for whatever it is you want to pray for. But, as always, just be prepared. Just try and enjoy your day-to-day, your lives. Try and be a good human, at least a half-decent one. Try and be good to one another. Like I said, if there's anything we can do, please feel free to reach out. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell whoever. Have a listen. Anywhere you can find podcasts. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we love you guys a lot. And we'll talk real soon. All right. Cheers, guys.